Welcome to the class, student, all of you. We are here. We are going to come across unit number 6, population. In the previous classes, we got completed up to sex ratio, and we discussed certain things related to the age structure, in sex ratio, gender discrimination, and cause for the gender discrimination, gender bias, and what are the causes for the gender bias, social causes, economic causes, at the same time religious and cultural causes, which are making gender bias a social evil in this country and in Indian society, but mostly in Indian society. And what is positive sex ratio? Positive sex ratio is the sex ratio where women are more than the male. State like Kerala, for every 1000 male, 1086 female are there in that particular state. Where that sign of positive sex ratio. Anything below 1000 female being below 1000 compared to the male, it will be a negative sign of sex ratio, negative sex ratio. And how we can overcome this? Already many causes, social causes, economic causes, cultural and religious causes were discussed in the previous class. Only way we can bail out at the present scenario of globalization. Globalization is providing opportunities to both genders equally. Only merit is taken into consideration. So this is the right time to overcome this social evil called gender bias or gender discrimination. How it will be happening? Only way is to educate the girl child. Education will bail out girl child from this discrimination and bias. And already we got seen. Best example case study stands in front of us, which we came across. In case of Himachal Pradesh, where girl child education is very much more, where infant mortality rate is very much less than many states in India, and how a working woman becomes self-reliant, self-confident, and how they can encourage the girl child education. A case study was there in second unit called Ideas of Development. That is the best example you can quote anyway, that girl education makes girls self-reliant academically, and once they turn academically self-reliant, academically independent, naturally their confidence levels will be increasing, and when confidence is there, anyone can live with the utmost freedom without any fear. Got it? So here comes the importance of women education or girl education is very much that is there in the present day. World became a village, entire world became a global village, we say, because of the advanced transportation, advanced technology. Opportunities are around the globe, and one who have that knowledge, one who acquires knowledge, that he or she can catch the opportunities, they can steal a show, and ultimately they can have a best life to lead. So what gives knowledge is education gives ultimately knowledge to anyone. So not only being literate and being educated is the must. Okay, so that's how, and we see the literacy rate of the country. This is the area where we have to feel very sorry. In two areas, really, present day pandemic is also proving that. One in the area of medical health and care, even after 73 years of independence, 73 years of independence, even after 73 years of independence, the required is not done. Of course, there was a great advancement in certain areas of medical and health care, but in providing it according to the needs of the country, according to the increasing population, somewhere it is a dismal performance. It is a dismal performance. We can very clearly quote. Got it? And coming to the education, these two are very important aspects of basic facilities or infrastructure of a country. Already I said you, in ideas of development itself, infrastructure, basic amenities or basic facilities are called infrastructure. So education along with health and healthcare, and transportation, advanced transportation, advanced telecommunication will change the style of living of human beings. Human beings, whatever the advancement happens in these 4 areas, they can have the best living conditions in any country or any society. So here, in case of literacy, now next point we are going to see about is literacy, Nana. And when we got our independence, it is just 12%. 1947, when we got our independence, in 1947, when we got our independence, just 12% is the literacy rate of India. What is this 12%? Literacy rate of India. When we speak about literacy rate, we have to know the definition of or meaning of literacy first. Or a literate. Literacy is making one able to read and write any one language. That is literacy. Literating someone is, or literacy is making one to read and write at least a language, any single language that exists in their region or their country, in a country. Got it done? That is called literacy. Literate. Who is a literate? According to recent definitions, an individual, maybe he or she, who is above 7 years of age, above 7 years of age and can read and write at least a single language, read, write and understand a single language, he is called a literate or she is called a literate. Able to understand? So, they are called literate, and the literacy rate. Literacy rate is for every 100 number of people, how many are literates? That gives you in percentage of literacy. For every 100, how many are literates? When we see into Mother India, during independence, during 1947, 12% is the literacy rate. By 2001, it went up to 64.84%. 64.84%. And by 2011, last census is taken for every 10 years, you all know, for a decade. 2011, 72.04. 74.04. Beg your pardon. 74.04%. What is the improvement? Just something around 10.8% is the improvement that we got achieved compared to 2001. But still, very clearly speaking, there is much more to do because much more to do to make this country 100% literate country. Why? Because you see, still 25.06% people are illiterates in this country, even after 73 years of independence. Whereas a country like China, which got liberated, or which turned into a People's Republic in 1949, 2 years after our independence, or 1.5 years after our independence, that was very great successfully achieved the literacy to a great extent. Why? Their Mao adopted universalization of education. Got it? Of course, emulating or following the same style of China, we too tried education for all program was launched, and what we can call documents got released several times, and also National Literacy Mission was established in 1988 to see that even though adults who are not literate, to make them literate, night schools were run in the villages and slums where most of the illiterates will be living. But still, even though so many efforts were made, education for all, document was made, dreaming about achieving the goal of giving education to all by 1995, 1996 it was made, and by 1995 it was to be, but it not got done. And by 2004 they want to make India a literate state. By 1988 they made national literacy mission, but of course of no use because the literacy rate is still 74.04% according to 2011 census. Hardly 10 more percent it will be by 2021, the coming year, if we take the census. Means 84.4%. Still there will be illiterates existing in this country. That's very well done. And now you see, in this also, the literacy rate is not quite common among, quite same or uniform among male and female. Again, it is showing a discrimination. Why? Because in the 74.84%, 82.14% are male and 68.46% are female. And we make an average of by adding this by we make average we got 74.04%. We got 74.04% by making average of male literacy and female literacy. Male literacy is 82.14%, female literacy is 68.46%. Is there any match between the male literacy and the female literacy? So, what is the important focus? Important area to be focused? Female literacy is the area where we have to focus very much. Bihar, Rajasthan, UP, such states are lagging behind in female literacy. Big states with a good population. They are highly densely populated states. Area according to the area size existing. And most women are being in illiterate category. It's not going to help for the progress of the economic progress or social progress of the country. So it's a need of the hour to focus in that area to enhance the female literacy, and governments have to take up the programs. Of course, the government at the center union government, when Modi became the Prime Minister, the minute he became the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi gave a slogan, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. Why? Being a Prime Minister, being in that focal position, if he gives a slogan, it will go to the ground roots and people will start adhering to it and they will encourage the girls' child education was the aim of that. That's why a slogan was given, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. Why Beti Padhao? If a girl is educated, no need. You protect her. She protects herself. She can protect herself. No one has to protect her when she gets educated. So this is the situation of this one. Our Telangana state is 66.1. Literacy rate of Telangana state. Telangana state literacy, according to 2011 stats, 66.48%. Telangana state literacy. Again, if you go into male and female, it will be confusing, but it's an important area. May be asked in the final exam. They may be asking. So that's why we are making a tell about Telangana state literacy. It is 66.48%. Right. So in this Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao, all are things to be remembered. These all are things to be remembered, and whenever it is needed, you have to write. Now we are going to working population, how it gets it got classified by Census of India. Working population, how it will be getting classified by Census of India. Census of India, basing on the economic activity carried by different people, got classified people into Four categories. Four categories now. Got it? Working population got classified by Census of India into four categories. Got it? So, what are the four categories? One is cultivators. Cultivators. Census of India, according to Census of India, got categorized working population into four types. They are one, cultivators; two, two, household worker, land, agricultural laborers. Agricultural laborers. Household workers. Workers in other areas. See, Nana, according to the Census of India, working population got classified into four types. What are the four types? One, cultivators; two, agricultural laborers or farm laborers; household workers, workers in other areas. So, cultivators. Cultivator means who will be growing crops in a farmland, on a farmland. Able to understand? Cultivators are the farmers or the people who grow crops in a farmland. You have to understand, when I say about cultivator, it is not a landowner. Some of the cultivators may be landowners. Some of them may not have land, but they may hire land from someone who is owning some land. From them they will hire. They are called tenant farmers or sharecroppers. Got it? Even those farmers are also considered as cultivators. So you have to understand, cultivator means not only the fellow who is owning the land. At times you see, a fellow who is owner of the land, who is owning a land, may not be a cultivator. If you ask your father, if you are out from a landowning community, he is not going and practicing agriculture in your village, but he is a landowner. He is not a cultivator, he is a landowner. Cultivator is that the fellow in the village who is hiring your land by paying some 10,000 per acre per annum, 5 acres 50,000 to your dad, and carrying on agriculture activity is the cultivator. And at times your dad, if he is not engaged in this occupation, if he goes on cultivating land, he is also cultivator, he is a landowner and also cultivator. So cultivator, when we speak, we have to remember, cultivators are not landowners. All landowners are not cultivators. At the same time, all cultivators are not landowners. You will understand? Someone may be cultivator without land. Even though someone have land, they may not be cultivator. So, and who are having land, they will also cultivate at times. So in this way, cultivator means who grows some variety of crops on a piece of land. May be owner of land, may not be owner of land. By hiring it, they will do. And farm laborers or agricultural laborers. These are the people who don't have any land, who don't own any land, who extend their physical labor or mental labor for in agricultural activity. They hire their labor to the cultivators. Cultivators will be hiring the labor of physical labor or mental labor of these people who are called agricultural laborers. They don't own any land. If any farmer starts sowing the seeds, they will get some work. Farmer is want to spray pesticide, that laborer will get work. Farmer want to harvest the crop, threshing of crop, is all activities are labor intensive, and then these people will get work. And for extending their physical labor, then naturally these people will be paid something. What is paid? If it is paid in the form of money, we call it as wage. Wage, they will be paid wages. Or kind. Again this word kind. Kind means not being generous or benevolent. Here we don't mean generosity or benevolence. Here kind means if the agricultural labor is paid for the labor he extended to the cultivator in the form of some food grains, 2 bags or 3 bags or 4 bags, it is called kind. If it is paid in the form of money, it is called wage. Again, you will come across this word kind in Vijay Rampur village economy, 8th chapter. You will be coming across. Please keep it in mind. Kind means if something is paid back to the agricultural laborer who is extending his physical labor to the cultivator in the form of food grains or some other mode, but not money. That is called kind. If money is paid, that is called wage. So laborers will be working on daily wages or on kind. They will be getting kind or daily wage for extending their physical labor. They don't have any land, but they get engaged in agricultural activity. Now, household workers. Household workers, the people who carry their production activity from their home. A potterer, weaver, got it? Or cobbler who repairs the shoe and all. Got it? Beedi leaf, the people who will be collecting the beedi leaf and they will be rounding it as beedis, preparation of beedis, matchbox industry. Got it? Of course, they are also called as cottage industries also now. They involve very less number of people in the work. Got it? Physical labor of a few people will be there, very less people will be there. That's why they will be doing this activity from their home, and production will be going on, but it is from their home. Such people who are engaged in production activity at the household level, they are called household workers. And the remaining people working in different service sectors and industries, construction activity, what it is, they all come under workers in other areas, other aspects, or other sectors. Got it? Right. So now what is the percentage of people? Let us see. Percentage of people engaged in cultivation. Engaged in cultivation is 25%. Out of every 100, 25 are engaged in cultivation activity in this country. Out of the working population. Out of working population, cultivation, 25 are engaged in cultivation. 25 are engaged in cultivation. Whereas agricultural laborers, 13 people are engaged in extending their physical labor in agricultural activity, who don't have any land. They are 30%. Out of every 100, 30 are there. And out of every 100 household workers, 4% are there. 4% are there. So out of 100, 25 plus 30, 55 plus 4, 59%. Are these three categories: cultivators, agricultural laborers, household workers. So 100 minus 59, it gives 41. 41% of people are the people, are workers who got engaged in other activities. Other activities. Other activities means other production activities. Either it may be in secondary sector, industrial sector, or in what we can call industrial and construction in secondary sector, and service sector, tertiary sector. They all got engaged. So 41% there. What it meant? Here one point we have to remember, Nana. The work done, unpaid work. That is unpaid work. Already in third chapter we came across. Unpaid work is the work which is not paid by anyone. Got it right? That unpaid work, you all know well, will be going to domestic level. That means at our home. Best example is mom. She makes many things. She's a homemaker. She makes many things for the family, for you, for dad, your sibling, your grandparents. She takes care of everything, preparing, cooking food, and cleaning the home, putting the clothes right, and tidiness, maintaining tidiness, and attending the services of everyone according to the time, without any delay. So many services are extended by her, but they are not paid. Such things are called as. She takes about the care of gardening. She takes care of pets at home. But irrespective of all this, she is not paid anything. Whatever the work service she is extending, that is called unpaid service. What it already we came across in GDP, when we counted GDP, we did not take into consider them. That's why those people are not treated as workers. And even though mom is doing that, she is not considered as a part of working population. But as it is an unpaid work. Able to understand? So this is the thing with the categorization of working population by Census of India. How it got categorized? Cultivators. How many cultivators are there in the country? Out of every 125 are cultivators. Agricultural laborers, 30 are agricultural laborers. And out of every 100. Household workers, 4 are household workers. And workers in other areas, 41 out of 100. And you all can understand. Most of the working population got engaged in which activity? You see, first two sections or categories. 25% of people engaged in cultivation, 30% of people engaged in agriculture activity as laborers. Means put together, what is the employment share of agriculture sector in this country? 55%. We are clearly saying 55%. But what is the contribution of agriculture sector to the GDP? Just rupees 19 out of 100, 19%. Is there any match? 55% people depending upon less income, a sector which is giving less income. So when a sector is giving less income, will they get full income, required income in a year? So that's why we find disguised unemployment, underemployment in primary sector or agriculture sector. Primary sector, which is where agriculture is a part of it. Able to understand? Right. Thank you then. And now we will be looking into changing population. And I think class will be continued. In the next class we will be coming across changing population. Better go through these concepts which you got completed today. And tomorrow we will be coming across changing population, fertility rate, and population density. Thank you.